Hello everybody and welcome back to the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode series, and it is the season review where we're going to go through the final standings of the season and talk about each driver a little bit and how their season went. Of course, we'll just get straight into it, starting off with myself. 8 wins on the season and your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. We achieved 18 top 5s, 23 top 10s. Laps led the most in the series, 319, and the best average finish with one DNF that came at Road America, where we had that head-on crash after contact with William Byron. Overall, a very successful season for me. Of course, my best season statistically as well. Winning at tracks I never thought I would win at as well. Of course, Phoenix is one of those too, where I did not expect to come out with a win, but we played the strategy and we managed to get it done. Now, a bit of a story, of course, that we followed the whole season was my beef with Kevin Harvick, and Kevin Harvick, now a part owner of Stewart-Haas Harvick Racing going into next season. They are downsizing to 3 cars, losing that Busch Beer sponsorship. They decided that the 10 car, myself driving it, was the odd man out due to our disagreements at the time. Now, this is going to be something Kevin Harvick is probably going to regret after the season we put together, still being in a lame duck season. Not only going to be losing my ride with them, but losing my crew chief as well. So even with all the drama going on and all the outside distractions, we still put together a championship winning season, and we will be bringing out driving services to the Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing team next season, driving the number 13 car for that team, which is now expanding into 4 cars. Very excited to get things done and underway over there. And my best couple of years at Stewart-Haas so far in this career have been in a Ford. We will be back with a Ford next season as well. We'll have to see though how we get along with our new crew chief, which has still yet to be announced. Moving on to our biggest threat to the championship and greatest competitor of this season, Kyle Larson, who finished 2nd overall and in the championship 4. He got 3 wins on this season, and he actually came into the season with only 1 win since joining with Hendrick Motorsports. Was in need of a breakout year, was in a contract year, and he went and made a statement this season, getting 3 wins and pretty much was first in the regular season standings for the entirety of the regular season. He got 14 top 5s, 24 top 10s, 262 laps led, an average finish of 10.7, no DNFs for the 5 car, but yeah, a breakout season for him, showing that potential that we all saw within him as a youngster at Chip Ganassi Racing. Of course, had that season off, rejoined driving the 88 car for Hendrick, and then the 88 went to Junior Motorsports. He went winless that season as well. Then next season in the 5 car, managed to win a race at Chicagoland and then got 3 wins in this season. And Larson, of course, could have got a few more wins, but me being his biggest rival in the championship, we managed to steal away a couple from him. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing if this rivalry continues going into the next season. Moving on to his teammate Chase Elliott, Mr. Consistent all year, was fantastic throughout the regular season, in the top 3 in the regular season standings for the most part. Managed to get 3 wins in the season as well, 2 of them coming at road courses, Road America and the Charlotte Roval during the playoffs. 13 top 5s, 23 top 10s, only 109 laps led though, a lot less compared to myself and Larson. A 10.4 average finish, the 2nd best in the series, and no DNFs as well for Elliott. Chase Elliott was actually feeling the heat coming into this season. He went winless in the last season and missed the playoffs in 2022. He had to rebound coming in here, only 10 wins in his career as well. He added 3 to them this season and definitely showed his potential as well that we expected to start seeing from him. And we'll see if Chase Elliott can once again put together a championship threatening season next year. Of course, he got a new multi-year deal as well as Kyle Larson, as they both continue to strive towards their first championship. Moving on to 4th place in the championship round, Joey Logano, 3 wins on the season, but went missing at Phoenix after winning that event the last 2 seasons. This time he was a part of the Championship 4 and floundered his chance to go to victory lane. It really went missing the whole race, was outside the top 15 for the most part, even after qualifying well. Logano was the worst statistically coming into this race with 11 top 5s, 17 top 10s, 140 laps led though, better than Elliott, and then 13.7 on the average finish with 1 DNF. And Joey Logano, yeah, he did not rise to the occasion like we expected he might do. But overall, a really solid season for Logano. He'll be looking to bounce back again next season. And then we move on to Martin Truex Jr., who announced midway through the season that he will be retiring at the end of 2024. So next season will be the last we see of Martin Truex Jr. And now he is currently sitting on a 61 race winless streak. We'll see the 19 bring the consistency once again next season, but will we see the 19 actually bring the winning speed that gets him into victory lane? He has 34 wins in his illustrious career. Of course, he is a 2-time champion at Universe, the 2020 Series champion, where he did get 6 wins in that season. He's got to find that sort of speed next season if he wants to contend in his final year in the NASCAR Cup Series. His stats, though, were impeccable for this season. 12 top 5s, 20 top 10s, 56 laps led though. That's where he kind of fell short. That winning speed I was talking about. A 10.8 average finish, the 4th best in the series, and then no DNFs as well for the 19. So that lame duck will be sitting over Truex going into the next season, but more importantly, who is going to be replacing him in that 19 car coming in to 2025? That is something we will have to build a story around and find out throughout the next season. Moving on to Denny Hamlin, who didn't really have a good season at all. He managed to get 2 wins in this season. He won at Kansas, and then he won in the playoffs at Texas, which granted him a spot into the round of 8, which he just did not really show the speed all season to be a championship full competitor, and that's kind of what happened in the round of 8. He got only 3 top 5s in the season, and 2 of those were wins. So Denny Hamlin needs to go back to the drawing board for the 2024 season. Not good enough, definitely, in his eyes, and what we expect from the 11 car. Of course, he's won a lot of races as well during this career mode. This was his worst season by far during our career mode series. He got 14 top 10 still, which is okay. 84 laps led, not great as well for him, and then an average finish of 15.8, which is just, wow, what happened to the 11 this season? I mean, we usually see him in victory lane a lot more, and though he did get 2 wins this season, he didn't really dominate in either of those races. So Denny Hamlin, will there be questions now looming over if he is past it? Of course, he is going to be turning 43, so he's definitely getting up there in terms of racing age. Moving on to Christopher Bell, who had a great season as well. Only 1 win on the year, but you can chalk that up to Toyota's struggles throughout the whole year really to get wins, until the playoffs where Reddick showed up and won 2 of them. He was hoping he would win those early in the season, though, I bet you. But Bell had a bit of an up and down season, didn't start the season too hot. Then he got that win at Gateway. And then throughout the playoffs, he kind of turned up. Managed to get 6 top 5s, which is not great, but it's more than his teammate, Denny Hamlin. And then he got 13 top 10s, which is, it's okay as well. 84 laps led though. A lot of laps led for Christopher Bell, which is new to see from him in our career mode. And then a 16.4 average finish. Like I said, he struggled at the start of the year. He also has 1 DNF, whereas his teammates didn't have any at all. So Bell, he'll be looking to ride that momentum going into next season, and definitely look to get multiple wins. He now has 2 career wins: Las Vegas in 2022 and Gateway in 2023. Ross Chastain shows up at Trackhouse Racing after a couple mid-years with Chip Ganassi Racing. They leave the sport. The 99 expands to a 2-car team, now introducing the 1, and now we have Ross Chastain landing there. We didn't have a lot of expectations, but he was in a 1-year deal with Trackhouse. Basically, go big or go home for him, and he went big. One win on the season that came at the Indianapolis Roval, which we will be moving back to the Brickyard 400 next season, and with that win, propelled himself into the playoffs, where he was the, surprise story. He was the underdog. He came into that playoffs. He showed up more than anybody else. He managed to get 5 top 5s in the season, which is not a lot, and only 9 top 10s, which is also not a lot. But he was just consistent throughout the playoffs. He was in the top 15. He wasn't messing up. He was leading laps as well. 68 laps led in this season. Crazy to think he would do that. He did start off a little bit of a struggle as well. 18.1 average finish, not great. But then that DNF that came in the round of 8 at Homestead, Miami, put a thorn in his side, and yeah, that was the end and undoing of Ross Chastain. He actually did lead laps though at Martinsville, trying to win and get in, but it wasn't meant to be for Ross, as he will be back with the team next season and on a multi-year deal, and they also picked up that Busch Light sponsorship. Then 9th place, Timmy Hill. No one expected the 21 car to make the playoffs first of all, or really perform in them, but Timmy Hill was good all season. He was pretty consistent. He got that win early on at Vegas. He only got 3 top 5s and 10 top 10s, but he was just hovering around that top 15. He led 41 laps as well, an average finish of 18.3, a lot better than we all expected for this team. And of course, he did win a race this season prior, but that was during the playoffs, so he did miss it. But the 2023 year was an overwhelming success for Timmy Hill in this 21 car. And of course, we did have rumors of him replacing Blaney at Penske, them doing a ride swap. Well, Blaney kind of put that to sleep with his win later on in the season. Of course, Blaney was really consistent all year, so it seems like things will stay the same in that arrangement for now. But Timmy Hill, definitely exciting things coming from that team, and we'll see what they can do going into next season if they can ride that momentum wave. And then moving on to William Byron, who, my God, this guy could not catch a break. 4 DNFs. That was rough, and 2 of those came in the playoffs as well. He got undone at Texas. He managed to claw it back at the Roval with 2 top 10s in the stages, and then he managed to finish the race in the top 10 as well, while others struggled. 1 win on the season though for Byron, which is worse than last year, where he got 2 wins. So 2 wins he got at Dover and Texas. This year he won at Auto Club. And then, William Byron just DNF'd in the playoffs, really undid his season. 7 top 5s though, and 14 top 10s. Not bad at all for the 24 car. And then laps led 63. So Byron was up front. He was doing well, leading laps. We also had a couple run-ins with that 24 car. Hopefully things will be sorted going into next season. And then a 16.1 average finish for Willie B in that 24 car. We'll see what he can do into the next season as well. See if he can move up another tier and compete with Larson and Elliott at that Hendrick 4-car team. Before we go into the next page of the standings, we have the 2023 stage winners in this season that I want to get through. Myself, 13 stage wins. That is 13 extra points in the playoffs that helped me towards getting through the rounds and winning my championship. It shows how important the stage wins can be. Logano got 7 of those. Larson got 6. They made it to the championship 4 as well. Kyle Busch ended up with 4 stage wins, 2 of those coming in the last race at Phoenix. And then Reddick, 4 stage wins as well. Cindric, also 4 stage wins. Chastain, 3. James Knight with 3. Bell, 2. And then all the way down to Suarez, all got 2 stage wins. I'll just name the drivers real quick for those who have it on the other monitor. It was Christopher Bell, Timmy Hill, William Byron, Brad Keselowski, Michael McDowell, Cole Custer, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez that got 2 stage wins. And then flipping over to the next page with all the guys that have 1 stage win. I'll read them out now when it pops up. It is Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece, Austin Dillon, and Ryan Newman. Those were your 2023 stage winners. And you will notice Chase Elliott was not there on that list. He never won a stage the whole season, and he still made it to the championship 4. So I don't know how he managed to do that, but he'll definitely look to be winning more stages going into next season and building up more playoff points. Of course, he almost got eliminated in the round of 8 due to not having enough points and a poor result in the race prior. I believe it was the opening race of the round at Las Vegas, where he kind of just went missing whilst everyone else turned up. By the way, every time we get through the next 10 drivers in the final standings, I'm going to throw in an announcement or some other funky stat on the season. The next one after these 10 drivers I'll get through in a moment will be the season schedule reveal for next season, so I'm excited to get into that. But we have some drivers to talk about, and first up, Kyle Busch. First season with Richard Childress Racing. I guess you could call it a success. 2 wins on the season, 10 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 91 laps led, and a 16.8 average finish. 1 DNF on the season as well, at the most important time as well, in the playoffs. And that car, the disappointing thing from Kyle Busch was his playoff run. He had 3 finishes outside the top 30 in the opening round of the playoffs and saw himself eliminated in the round of 16 whilst entering the playoffs as the 7th seed, I believe it was. So definitely disappointing for him on that part, but we'll see if they can bring the speed next season and compete. His RCR teammates did struggle all season. We'll get to those guys later though. Chase Briscoe had a pretty decent season. He got the Daytona 500 wins, so he locked himself into the playoffs straight away. 5 top 5s on the season, 9 top 10s. A little bit down on the stats there. We probably expected a bit better, but then again, it's only his 3rd season in the career mode, so he's done pretty good for him this season, statistically getting better each season. 45 laps led, 17.4 on the average finish. He'll look to improve next season, and no DNFs. Chase Briscoe added to his career wins with the Daytona 500 this year, and then of course he won at Sonoma in 2022. I'd say Chase Briscoe is probably the only teammate at Stewart-Haas I will miss, because he treated me on the racetrack a lot nicer than the 4 and 41. As now we move on to our boss for next season, Brad Keselowski, who joined Roush Fenway Racing at the start of the season, making it Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. And that team was pretty absent last season. No drivers in the top 20 in points. This time we had 2 winners out of that camp, or 2 different winners, 3 wins on the season for them, and then James Knight was of course a photo finish away from making the playoffs as well. Keselowski 2 wins on this season though. He managed to get a win early on at Richmond and then backed it up with a win at Chicago later on. He went missing in the playoffs as well though, just like Kyle Busch. Saw himself eliminated in the round of 16 after entering as the 7th or 8th seed, so pretty much the same as Kyle Busch. 5 top 5s on the season. He'll definitely look to improve on that number next season. 11 top 10s he'll also look to improve on, but 87 laps led is definitely something positive, and then a 16.1 average finish is not too shabby at all. Michael McDowell was a surprise this season, getting his 2nd career win after getting his 1st career win at Talladega in 2021, won in a long winless streak, but he managed to get a win at Sonoma this season, getting himself into the playoffs, but was bounced out in the round of 16. Didn't really do much in the playoffs either. He got 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, so really not great in terms of stats, and of course ends up higher on the list because he made the playoffs as well. Anyone that made the playoffs cannot finish below 16th in the championship, but laps led 22, not too bad from the 34 car there, but an average finish of 23.8. He'll definitely look to improve on, but that number of course is going to get dragged down by those 4 DNFs that he had on the season. Definitely one of the more unlucky drivers, but I'll get to a driver later. You'll be surprised at his DNF numbers. And then rounding out the top 15 in points is Cole Custer. 1 win on the season where he dominated, to be fair. Win and you're in. That's what he did. He dominated at Pocono for the 2nd season in a row. He managed to win that race, getting himself into the playoffs by doing so, but once again was eliminated in the round of 16. He needs to improve on his playoff performances if he wants to continue moving forward, but those stats are not too good either. 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. that ain't going to get you very far in the playoffs with those kind of numbers. An average finish of 24.9, 3 DNFs hurts as well, but he did lead 30 laps too, so Cole Custer definitely has some work to do going into next season, but not a terrible season for him overall. He was having a pretty bad one actually until that Pocono race. And then Chris Buescher, who unfortunately ended his season early, he rounds out the 16 playoff drivers. In the round of 8, the round of 12, the beginning of it at Texas, he suffered that back-breaking injury at Texas with that massive multi-car pileup. But it was a breakout year for Buescher. He broke a massive winless streak that was over 200 races since that rain-shortened win at Pocono back in 2016, I believe it was 2016. He managed to get a win this year though at Dover, which put himself in the playoffs. 5 top 5s, 9 top 10s. Pretty good for the 8 top 10s. Pretty good for the 17 car. 47 laps led as well was definitely refreshing to see the 17 up front. An average finish of 21.4 as well. As we now move on to Tyler Reddick, the best of the rest. 2 wins on the season. Both came during the playoffs, but unfortunately, he missed the playoffs, so they didn't count towards moving him forwards. He got 7 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 97 laps led, and a 14.6 average finish. A great season for Tyler Reddick in that 45 car, 1 DNF as well. His first year with the team, and he came out swinging. Good season for Tyler Reddick. Moving on to Ryan Blaney, we spoke about him breaking that massive winless streak of 3 years, getting the win at Homestead, Miami. He made the call that he would do it before the end of the year, and he did so. He also got 6 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 34 laps led, an average finish of 13.9, so a very good average finish for the 12 car all season. They did well, but they just didn't make the playoffs because they didn't nab that win. Bowman is another driver that once again started the season really well and was up there in the top 10 in the regular season standings at the halfway point throughout the season. However, he also failed to win. He is now 6 top 5s, 11 top 10s, 37 laps led, 16.7 average finish. It seemed like whenever something was going right for Bowman, something then went wrong and just destroyed his race when he was doing really well. Bowman is on a massive winless streak, over 200 races since 2018. Was it 2019 where he won at Chicago? He hasn't won yet in the career mode. He needs to win next season or else he's probably out of that 48 car. Moving on to Daniel Suarez, it was a down year for him in terms of not getting a win. He's won a race in the past 3 years, 1 race in each season, but all the headlines at Trackhouse Racing were captured by Ross Chastain in that 1 car. They turned it up, got a win, and did a great playoff run. Suarez ended up with 3 top 5s only. He got 10 top 10s, 23 laps led, and a 17.5 average finish, but those 3 DNFs are what killed him. He was doing well in the regular season, and then he had a few DNFs before the end of the regular season. He would have needed a win anyway to make it through. But that is your top 20 in points. Let's go and have a look now at the 2024 schedule. And here it is. What a beautiful sight to behold. In green, we have the Crown Jewel races on the calendar. And then, of course, we have your playoff races under the round numbers. So we kick it off with the Daytona 500. We once again head to Atlanta, Vegas, Phoenix, and Auto Club, Bristol, Martinsville, Texas, and Richmond, Talladega, Dover, Coca-Cola 600. Those 12 races are pretty much in the same sort of span as where they were last season, but then we head to Sonoma, Iowa, Kansas, Gateway, Road America, and Chicago Land will wrap up the halfway point throughout the season. The first track we will head back to is once again going to be Dover. We actually head back there only 8 races later, but followed by Dover, we have the Brickyard 400 returning to the schedule after its 1-year absence with the Indianapolis Roval. Then we have Pocono, Watkins Glen no longer in the playoffs. It's race number 22, followed by Michigan, Richmond for the second time, and then we have the Southern 500. And to wrap up the regular season, we of course once again have the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, the night race, to set our playoff field. And then we will move on into your playoffs. The round of 16 will begin at Auto Club we will go to a second time in the season, which is exciting. The racing has always been good there in the career mode, so happy to see it get a second date. Kansas also gets a second date as well. Of course, it is a multi-groove racetrack. Very good to have 2 races on the schedule for that. And then we have the Bristol Night Race once again rounded out the round of 16. And then we head into a new looking round of 12 with the introduction of New Hampshire, followed by Talladega and the Charlotte Roval once again. But seeing New Hampshire in the playoffs is something we haven't seen for years now in NASCAR. It's what they did in real life though for 2025, the new schedule. We're bringing it here in the 2024 Cup Series schedule for next season. Here in the round of 8, it's the same tracks except Phoenix gets swapped with Homestead Miami. So Phoenix will kick off the round of 8, followed by Las Vegas, and then we have Martinsville rounding out the round of 8 once again. So Vegas gets moved a race later, Phoenix gets moved a few races before, Martinsville stays the same way, and finally the NASCAR Cup Series heads back to Homestead Miami for the final race of the season. Super exciting because it is a multi-groove racetrack, an awesome track to be at, and to have it as the finale I think will be very suitable. It's what the fans want in real life, so I'm happy to do it in the career mode. So that is your 2024 Cup Series schedule. Heading now into the back half of the field, kicking it off with Kevin Harvick, who got a win on the season at Las Vegas in his final season in the NASCAR Cup Series as a full-time driver. Kevin Harvick will retire as a 3-time champion, 2014, 2021, and 2022. Over 60 races won, 61 races he has won in his career. Las Vegas was the final one. He had a good season to start off, but trailed off towards the end of the regular season. Wasn't able to win and get in, but he got his win during the playoffs, so it was a nice way to end the year for Kevin Harvick. He also had 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s, 66 laps led, pretty good, 19.5 average finish, and 2 DNFs. Definitely not what you want. Moving on now to Austin Cindric in 22nd. Cindric actually had a few close calls in what he could have won races. He also did win multiple stages for this season. We covered that earlier. He got 5 top 5s in the end, 9 top 10s, 48 laps led. That's a lot of laps led for the 2 cars, so good to see that from him. An 18.6 average finish and 1 DNF. An overall decent season for Cindric, but definitely a step down where he made the playoffs in the season prior with a win. AJ Allmendinger had a pretty good season. He started off a little bit of a struggle, but he clicked together quite a few top 15s and top 10s throughout the middle part of the regular season and boosted up his points. I actually thought he might have won a race. I did predict him to win a race during our mid-season video, but he did not go on to do that. He got 3 top 5s, 10 top 10s, 21 laps led. Did not expect that. And that was mostly at ovals as well. He got a 21.3 average finish and 2 DNFs. Moving on to James Knight in the 97, he pretty much finished in the overall standings where he finished the season prior, but this time he looked a lot more of a threat to win a race. Of course, he lost that photo finish at Phoenix in the spring. He got 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, and 31 laps led. Very good for the youngster from Australia. A 21.4 average finish, but those 3 DNFs were definitely killer for him. Remember, he was leading in the Southern 500 as well when he crashed out of the race. I will never forget that one too. That was tragic for him. Happened right in front of us. Then 25th, we have your Rookie of the Year winner, Ty Gibbs. He won the Xfinity Series Championship in 2022. He comes here and as a rookie in 2023, has a pretty decent season, gets 3 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 11 laps led, which is quite good. He also looks like a threat to win the Charlotte Roval race. He finished 2nd there. A 21.3 average finish, but once again, 3 DNFs definitely hurt him in the point standings. I am expecting big things though from Ty Gibbs in his 2nd season. Moving on now to Bubba Wallace. It is a sad season for Bubba Wallace. He had so many times where he was leading laps. I mean, you see 36 laps led, but didn't convert any of that speed into a top 5 at all, which was definitely wild. And probably we will see a crew chief change in that 23, considering how well the 45 did this year. He ended up getting 6 top 10s, an average finish of 21.4, but things were just not good enough at that 23 car. Something was off in that team, and we'll see if they can fix it going into next season. They'll definitely have a lot better expectations for him. In 27th, Eric Jones, a massive down year for him. He won a race at Richmond last year. He made the playoffs. This time, he only mustered 2 top 5s. A terrible season for him, and what he was showing previously, 4 top 10s for him as well, not good enough at all. Only 13 laps led, and a few of those were at super speedways, and literally anyone can lead laps there. A 23.6 average finish and 3 DNFs is definitely not something to marvel at either. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plummeted in the second half of this season. In the first half of this season, he was up there in the mix to maybe even point his way into the playoffs, but with more winners and bad finishes for the 47 car, he fell out of favor there. He managed 2 top 5s, a second place at Texas as well. I remember Kyle Busch. He got 5 top 10s, 8 laps led that came at Phoenix. Remember, we saw him lead laps there and at Texas. And then the average finish of 23.5 with 1 DNF, which was the final race at Phoenix as well, where he was actually quite fast and was going to put together a good race. Definitely, we will see Stenhouse back, and of course, he got that contract extension after such a great start to the season. We'll see if they can find that form again, or else they might regret that contract extension. Moving on here to Ryan Preece with his first season with Front Row Motorsports, and actually it's an improvement for the 38 car, doing not too bad. Of course, the 34 made the playoffs with a win. The 38, Ryan Preece actually did okay. He got 4 laps led, no top 5s for him, but 2 top 10s was definitely a good effort. 25.3 average finish and 2 DNFs. But now that Front Row Motorsports are going to have more of a technical alliance with Penske, we're going to have to expect more from the 34 and 38 heading into next season. And then finally in this page, we have Ty Dillon, 30th on the rankings. He won a race at Dover last season where we DNF'd, and Ty Dillon went on to win in a late race restart. We didn't get to see it, unfortunately, but Ty Dillon, 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s. They both came at Talladega, both Talladega races. And of course, remember, we had our run-in with Ty Dillon in the Daytona 500 where we did fight him after the race. He also managed to lead 0 laps this season and a 25.2 average finish. So compared to what Kyle Busch was able to achieve in the RCR equipment, Ty Dillon did not do anything at all of note, and you haven't seen him yet, but Austin Dillon's season was even worse this year, and we'll get into him in just a moment. But first, here are your rosters for the Xfinity Series and Truck Series going into 2024. Feel free to pause it and see what teams have which drivers, but I will point out in the seasons prior, so 2023, your Truck Series champion was Corey Heim, driving for Tricon. He will be driving for Joe Gibbs Racing's number 20 Xfinity Series car next season. And joining him in the championship for the Truck Series was Jesse Love, who will be in Xfinity next season as a rookie for Rich Childress Racing. And then the other 2 that were in the Truck Series championship 4 are not listed here because they will be Cup Series drivers next season. It is Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar, which we will both see in the Cup Series. Driving for the 31 for Kaulig Racing is Zane Smith, and then for Spire Motorsports in the 77 will be Carson Hocevar. And then on the Xfinity Series side of things, we had the championship won by John Hunter Nemechek, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing's number 20. He also was accompanied by Justin Allgaier in the championship for Austin Hill, and then the other driver was his teammate of Chandler Smith, who Chandler Smith will be driving in the Cup Series next season as well for the Red Bull Racing number 26. And of course, I will get into the Cup Series full complete lineup at the end of the episode. That will be what I show after the final page of the standings. but feel free to pause it once again if you want to have a look at all the drivers that will be racing full-time in the Xfinity and in the Truck Series. And moving on now to the final page of the standings in 2023, we have Austin Dillon. I just mentioned earlier, he only managed one top 5, and that was at Talladega. He got 2 top 10s, 5 laps led, a 26.1 average finish. A terrible year for the 3 car. Once again, needs to bounce back, or definitely questions will be asked if he can handle driving in the 3 and maybe have to move into an ownership role. In the 32nd was Ryan Newman, and yes, you have seen this stat correctly, 8 DNFs, and he still managed a 27 average finish, 29 laps led, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, and of course he got that Cinderella win to go off into the sunset as a winner in the Cup Series one more time, getting his 22nd career win at Talladega in the fall. Ryan Newman ends up 32nd in the standings, and Penske are probably going to be thanking the stars they getting rid of that 4th car because it did not perform this season. Moving on to a rookie here in Noah Gragson. Didn't have too flashy of a season, but 4 top 10s is not too bad. Didn't get any top 5s, though he did run well in a couple races. Only 3 laps led, a 26.5 average finish, expecting a lot more from him next season. Matt DiBenedetto losing his ride at the end of this season. He will be in the Xfinity Series, but he will be driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series, so I guess it's not all bad for him. We'll see if he can turn things around, but this season was terrible for him. Only 1 top 5, 1 top 10, no laps led, and a 27 average finish. We'll see what Carl Edwards can bring to the Sony PlayStation Racing team next season, as they will have a furthered technical alliance with them. Of course, 3 DNFs did not help Matt DiBenedetto as well. Moving on to 35th in the standings, Justin Haley in the 51 car, who will be in the 7 next season, swapping with LaJoie, who got 37th in the standings. But Haley, not too flashy of a season. He did manage a top 10 though, and he did run well a couple times in the top 20, so that was pretty notable of him. A 26.9 average finish and 3 DNFs definitely did hurt that average finish though. And now moving to the bottom 5, Daniel Hemrick will be losing his ride in the Cup Series for Kaulig Racing, but he will be racing with them in the Xfinity Series next season. He will have 0 top 5s this season, 2 top 10s, 3 laps led, a 27.8 average finish, and 1 DNF. Hemrick, his return to the Cup Series, we thought maybe he could do a bit better, but it was lackluster for him, unfortunately, and he will go back down to the Xfinity Series. LaJoie, we mentioned earlier, will be in the 51 next season. He got 0 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 0 laps led, a 27.5 average finish, but no DNFs for him, so that's a positive. Definitely nothing like the Corey LaJoie of real life in the 7 car of 2024, I'll tell you that. Now moving on to Harrison Burton, who just had an abysmal season, a 29.2 average finish with 4 DNFs, and those DNFs came when he was not doing too bad in the races either. I mean, there were a couple where he was doing bad and he DNF'd anyway, but there were a couple races where he was having a good run, and unfortunately it got cut short. He managed to lead 2 laps, and he also got a stage win at Talladega, 1 top 5 and 1 top 10. And now we move on to Aric Almirola, who will be returning to Stewart-Haas Racing next season, and he'll actually be accompanied with Harrison Burton. They will be driving the Xfinity Series cars for that team, and Almirola ends up with no wins, but 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 8 laps led, and a 29.4 average finish, and 1 DNF. And finally, the last driver in the standings, it is a rookie, Riley Herbst here for Rick Ware Racing. Ends up with 0 top 5s, but he managed to get 2 top 10s, which is a lot more than we expected of him. 1 DNF and a 30 average finish, about what you'd expect from a rookie at Rick Ware Racing, but definitely they closed the gap on how bad they were. They at least had a few good runs here and there. And then of course they're not listed in the standings, but we had a couple fill-in drivers this season. We had Ty Gilliland race in the final 6 races of this season. He is not listed here, but he drove both the 6 and 17. And actually, I didn't mention it earlier when I had the graphic up, but Ty Gilliland will be racing for RFK Racing next season. but he will be in the Xfinity Series. So RFK returning to the Xfinity Series with the 6 car, and we'll have Todd Gilliland driving that car. Of course, he impressed actually in a couple of the races he did fill in for, and also Todd Gilliland, he was racing for Stewart Haas Racing in the Xfinity Series, but now he is going to leave that team for RFK. And then also we have to mention Austin Hill made one appearance as well when Kyle Busch was out with concussion at Richmond in the spring race, as that is going to wrap up the final standings for the 2023 Cup Series season. And you know what, I realize now that I said I will show the roster going into next season for the Cup Series, but that is what the silly season roundup video is for. So that is going to do it for this one today, guys. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. This is definitely like a podcast type episode, but yeah, it definitely had to be done. I guess I will say once again, thank you so much for the support on this series, especially this season. It was absolutely amazing. You guys have been fantastic, and it has been a pleasure to continue making these videos for you guys. I can't wait to get started with season number 5 and to see if we can defend our NASCAR Cup Series championship at our new team. As that'll wrap it up here for the season review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.